Hey guys, it's Eliana with Inspired Financial Tips. And today we are going to be digging into the topic of changing from a career mindset to a family mindset and how that impacts your finances. To start off, I'm going to take you through a little bit of my story of how I transitioned from kind of having this cultural, career based mindset to having this biblical, family oriented mindset. Growing up, for me, I absolutely loved family. I have loved family my whole life. I love my own family. I love other people's families. Like, I just adored mothers and just their impact and their role in their children's lives. And I love my own mother and the impact and role that she had in my life. I was able to go to private school for a couple of years. I was then able to be homeschooled at home, like with my siblings and my mother, just being able to pour into us every day. And I knew from the time I was young that that was something that I wanted to do for my family in the future. I wanted to serve my family, I wanted to serve my husband, and those were my first priorities, and they always have been. However, in the time in between kind of high school and college, there were a lot of voices that were just so prevalent. And these voices, these people, in whether that was in culture or just even like within friends and people that you knew, like a lot of them started out desiring a family, wanting to serve the Lord in every aspect. But I got to see a lot of my friends kind of veer off that path. And very sadly, like some of them completely turned away from the Lord, others of them turned completely towards building their career, making money for themselves. And others of them just kind of stood at this random spot in the middle of, the culture is telling me to get this career. The culture is telling me that I need this in order to be successful. And so I'm getting this, but my real desire is to be a mother and like serve my family in that way. But at the same time, like I don't know if I'm gonna get married, so I'm gonna still like kind of push towards that career track, but that's still my desire. And so I saw a lot of people on that middle ground of like, yeah, one day far in the future, like I'll get married, I'll be a mother, but I want to kind of build myself and be successful for myself right now. And then I saw a lot of people just completely veer off that track and be like, I want nothing to do with the Lord. I want nothing to do with homemaking. Like, I want to build a life for myself, a successful one that the world defines as successful. And I saw a lot of people just fall into these traps. And I knew I do not want to be one of these people. Like, I do not want to get to college and then be all, woohoo, like go career. I want to be successful for myself and make lots of money and, do all of the stereotypical things that the culture is telling us. I want to stand strong in the fact that my desire and God's desire for me is to build a family. Like, if Lord willing, I get married and, you know, then like my desires for my husband and for my family and what God calls us to there. And so there was like this tension within me of just hearing of all of these people who were just following the cultural standards and following just what everyone thought was this is what you need to be, but having a different philosophy myself and trying to stand strong in that philosophy turned out to be a lot harder during college. Now, for many of you, when you think of Christian college, you probably think of a ring by spring, like everyone's out there, they're just going to Christian college to get married. There's tons of people, they're just flooding the gates and they're getting married, having babies. A lot of times there's a very negative stigma with that, like they're dating someone for a month and then getting engaged and married within 3 months. Like that's what a lot of people I think have, just this stigma of, that's what's at Christian colleges. People are getting married, they're graduating. That's what's happening. And honestly, I went to Liberty University, and even there, like a lot of people joked around about Ring by Spring. They were like, oh my goodness, it's a real thing. Like, people totally get engaged, they get married, like, so quick. They're like, it's horrible. Like, they just, and that's what I was hearing from all these girls is like, this is totally a thing that happens, and it's just so horrible that, these women are wasting their lives. And for some people, like, they're like, oh yeah, spring by spring, like, give me one. But what I noticed is that there were not, like, in comparison to probably like our parents' generation or the generations before that, like, there were not many people who actually like graduated college and were married or were getting married or even had like a serious relationship that they would have been getting married sometime in the near future. And I really noticed that a lot of the people at college, despite what they said about Ring by Spring being this huge, movement, huge thing, not a lot of people were really doing that. You have the occasional, we met in freshman year and got engaged by spring, and you have that occasionally happening. There's maybe one couple that I can think of off the top of my head out of all the people that I know from college. Like, I can think of one couple that happened, like, where they met freshman year and then like got engaged soon after and then got married right away. But the majority, like, they may have gotten engaged in college. Like, there's maybe a couple other couples I know, like, they got engaged in college, and after they graduated or halfway through college, like, they got married. But there's not a ton, like, in my mind, at least maybe I was in the wrong circles, but there wasn't a ton where like that was the priority. And I'm not saying just go to like pay thousands of dollars just to go find your spouse, but what better way to meet your spouse than at a Christian college where there's tons of other people who could be like-minded. Like I said, not necessarily are like-minded. And so I kind of entered into this mentality and this culture of people where they were just very much against marriage. And not that they would have said that they were against marriage, but they kind of viewed it as, oh, the only people who get married young are like dumb and they just rushed into that decision. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, where are you getting this? I am not seeing this happening at all. Like, I see way more people complaining about the Ring by Spring and being like, "Oh my word, I cannot believe this is a thing. Like, they should stop wasting their lives and they need to stop getting married right away and when they're young and everything." Like, that's what I saw from like way more people than I ever saw any Ring by Spring. Like I said, there was like one couple that I can think of, and I don't even know that couple well. There was maybe another couple that I knew better, but that one was a totally different situation. They had met in high school. And so I was just like so, especially like going through college, like I was so confused as to like, first of all, why is everyone saying like this is so wrong, this is so bad to get married? Like everyone around me is like discouraging it. And then number two, like why were there so many people who were against that and were just like only wanted their career? Like so many Christians. I was so surprised that there were so many Christians who like they didn't really desire marriage, like they were just dating for fun or to hang out in college. And I was just like so confused as to why is this happening, like what is going on. And as I was in college, I got messages even in like a Christian college where I mean they're still 100% like my professor, his wife was a stay-at-home mom. Like, he was still very supportive of people who did want to become that. But I felt like, in general, the majority of people in college were not super supportive of just having this biblical view of trying to serve your family first, trying to, you know, desire marriage, desire children. Like, there was not this desire for that. Um, and obviously, like, there were some people that I know which were on the opposite scale. Like, they did desire marriage, but that wasn't where God had them right now. And so, like, obviously, they were doing the best they could with where God had them and, still learning and doing their best 100%. But I definitely started to feel a lot of tension my second year. So, my second year was also my junior year. Um, and this was kind of the year where it was like, all right, you need to get an internship, kind of get your feet wet. And as a financial planning major, like, it was kind of important for me to have some experience just in the financial planning realm, trying to help clients or support financial planners just in various ways because experience speaks so much louder than education. And so I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I want this experience. Like, yes, obviously, like, I want to go into financial planning. I want to help people with their finances. And I noticed, like, as the more people I interviewed with, the more time I spent in the financial planning industry. And maybe this is not like in your career field, but I would have to say, like, for a lot of the career fields, this probably is turning into the case. But specifically within the financial planning realm, like, there was an immense amount of push, not just from like the women, but like even just from like the people like that you interviewed with and the other, like, just everyone that was within the financial planning realm. Like, you just felt this push to, you know, if you can do this, if you can gain your CFP, if you can get these required years, after that, like, once you attain this level, then you can kind of like scale back a little bit and meet with your clients at home, or it's super flexible, which 100%. If you want a financial plan, work, and be at home is super flexible for that. Great, like, that is one of the most flexible ways that you can work and be at home at the same time. Like, especially if you're an advisor, you're having people just come into your house, you meet with them, or, I mean, Zoom is huge for financial planners. So it's like a super easy way to be virtual because a lot of the stuff you're doing it on the computer anyways, figuring out calculations, helping people. A lot of times you're meeting with them virtually either way, whether you're in an office or not. So it is super flexible for that. But I noticed that, like, even the people who wanted you and desired for you to have a family and to build that still kind of pushed you towards that option of, oh, like, you can still work and have all your clients and like you know, build this huge business for yourself and then stay at home. Like, it's super flexible for that. And, there wasn't really ever an uh kind of like a thought that, maybe I don't want to spend years of my life trying to build up this business just to stay at home and still work while I have my children. Like, maybe I just want to work for a couple of years of my life, retire, like, step out of work, whatever the case might be, and stay at home with my children. Like, that wasn't a huge push. There was a huge push for like working at home, like work at home moms, and so flexible, all of that type of thing. But there was not like a ton of mention about women who just wanted to be in the industry for a couple of years and then step out, have their kids, like, not work. And it was definitely very hard for me because, you know, with this industry, like, they very much pushed, like, in many, many of the interviews that I was in, they very much were like, okay, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Like, financial planning, this industry is, it's very much what they would say is it's a career. It's not a job, it's a long-term commitment, you know. So those were the messages that I was just constantly receiving is, to be successful in financial planning, you have to do it for the long run. Now, I don't know if there's other industries that they push that in. I I have to believe that there are. Like even for nursing or, general business, like business management, even engineering, like I'm sure even though like a lot of those, like a lot of the financial planners have this mentality of, if you're a nurse, that's your job. You can do it for 3 years, step out, not do anything, but like they very much stress financial planning is a career. But I think even within those other industries, just from what friends have said and stuff like that, like they're definitely pushing, this is a career. We want to build you, like, we want to grow you as an employee and, build you into your skills so that you can become a planner or a nurse or an engineer and work for us for the rest of your life type of deal. And I don't think the push is as hard in those industries. I don't know because I'm not in them. But I will say with financial planning, like that push was huge. Like they would be like, hey, like we're all about family and being flexible. And really, I think a lot of financial planning firms are like, they just genuinely, like, they're like, all right, we're taking this day off, go spend it with your family. Like, holidays, great. You get like, you know, the day of, the day after. It's like, it's very conducive to a family if you're like the main bread keeper, but, or bread maker, sorry. But if you're like just an ordinary woman who wants to just go in, have a job for a couple of years, work, I had a hard time finding a position that would suit those desires and those wants. It was crazy. Like there were multiple companies where I honestly I just had to say like I'm sorry, like I can't do that for you. And I got turned down like several times because I was like I am unwilling to travel all of the time because I have a like I'm gonna be having a husband. I was engaged at the time. Like I'm not going to go and travel away from my husband all of the time. Like that's not the lifestyle that I have set out for myself. And that cost me a lot of interviews. I was actually very surprised at how many interviews like literally asked that. I was like, this is a virtual position. Like, why do I need to travel for this thing? Like, it's not necessary. So that was hard for me. Like it was very hard to just even from my career field, like to feel that pressure of all the girls around me are like, I want to build up my career and like do this. And some of them like they genuinely wanted to get married and they wanted to have family as their first priority. But for a lot of them, like they had no desire getting married. They wanted to build their career and like that was the path that they had. And so I'm around like all these girls that have that mentality. I'm around, you know, a lot of like in my career field, I did a lot of interviews. I was talking to a lot of financial planners. Sometimes it was just networking. And a lot of times, like they were telling me, this is a career field. You're in it for the long run. This is what you're gonna have. Like if you want to do this, you're doing it for the next 10, 20 years of your life. And you can scale back, you can kind of step back a little bit, maybe work from home, which is suitable to like having children and stuff. And I'm like, well, if I want to spend 24 hours of the day, like as a mother, this is not going to be conducive for me. Like, how am I supposed to do this? Like, just enter the career and work my way up. And so there were like a lot of opportunities that I did pass on or they passed me on because I was like, I'm not willing to travel all of the time and I'm not willing to, like just spend 100% of my time for the rest of my life working for this company. Um, and definitely, like, if you're in an interview, you put that more delicately. But sometimes I was just like, nope, this isn't gonna be a fit. So something that I really had to learn from this experience was honestly like you have to stand up and be bold in what you believe, even if like that costs you a job or that costs you an opportunity. Um, and I did have a couple in-person firms who did like they offered me to come back and visit the firm for a second interview. Like they were on the verge of, you know, potentially offering me a job, but because I was like, I don't know where my husband, like, he wasn't my husband at the time, but my fiance, like, I don't know where his job is gonna be. And I can't just, like, this is not my desire to go and get a job somewhere for a couple months before we're married and be like, oh, nope, can't be here. Like, he got a job somewhere else, you know? So that was definitely a big challenge for me because I was interviewing and interviewing with tons of these firms. Meanwhile, during this time, like I managed to get an internship, and I like it was a ways away, but it was like just for a short term, 6 weeks or so. So I was like, okay, I can do 6 weeks. Like they covered housing and everything, but you know, even then, like you could definitely feel, even though a lot of financial planners, like their wives are literally stay-at-home moms, but a lot of times, like they just don't, I don't know if they just don't understand or if it's just not within their wiring to think, oh, if you're a financial planner, you can cut back to being a stay-at-home mom. But there were very few people that had that mentality, and it was definitely very hard to like stand up against that cultural mentality and be like, no, like this is not the way things just automatically have to go. Like we can choose a different path, but it did come with consequences. And so finally I was able to interview with a firm that allows me to work from home. So if my husband gets a job someplace else, I just move right along with him. I don't have to quit a job. I just continue doing whatever I'm doing. And that's how we're working it. And it's been a huge blessing for my family for me to just be able to be a support to my husband and being able to be like, okay, like if you get a job, like he is our primary source of income. We live 100% off of what he makes. Whatever I make is just extra for our family. And so it's been such a huge blessing to be able to be like, oh, he's getting a new job. I don't have to sit here and be like, oh my word, I have the perfect dream job and I'm gonna lose it and da da da. No, I have a job that suits my needs and allows me to help financial planners and is virtual, so I can take it with me. I can go with him wherever like the Lord is leading, and I am just able to be open to the Lord and just continually surrender with open hands because I decided to make that choice of, this is the company I'm going to go through, and they're super supportive of family and of, having children, and they're super supportive of still like looking towards your goals and still trying to reach them within your career, but not being so close-handed that they're like, no, like this is if you're with this company, like this is what we want from you for the rest of your life. Um, so, um, I think that that has been a huge blessing, and what I want to encourage you with is continually stand strong. Like, there are going to be so many pressures and people who are telling you, like, this is not what you should do. Like, you're just being unsuccessful. You're wasting your life away. No, 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 no. Like, do what the Lord has called you to do. And, like, if you are married, the Lord has called you to follow your husband's lead and to follow where God leads him to be. And so you have such a unique responsibility within that, and it's such a blessing to be able to, submit to your husband and honor his responsibilities and be able to support him and his goals. And just like he supports you and yours. And so I've been super blessed to be able to have this unique experience where I do get to work for financial planners um, while staying at home, while being super flexible, while setting my hours. Um, and so it's a super big blessing, but it took that like a lot of interviews to get there. And it took a lot of me just deciding, you know what, like this company, this isn't the right fit. And some of the companies were like family oriented, but I was like, this isn't the right fit because you're like I can't just make a decision off of where I'm gonna live. It's not just me. There's my husband as well, and we're not moving there. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. Um, so I just hope that that's an encouragement to you to just stay strong, stay bold. You can still 100%, like I'm still, growing and in what I'm doing, and I'm getting to, gain and grow more hours for what I'm doing. But at the same time, I can do that while still supporting my husband and supporting my future family. Um, and just bringing in an extra income, it's helping us, pay down debt faster, save up faster. It's helping us, kind of accelerate a lot of our goals um, a little bit faster than what we would have been on just one income. And so I think that that's a super huge thing for you if you're in college, if you're just married and you're like, okay, I really want to have this dream job. I really want to have like this set of goals for my dream job. I would encourage you to kind of step back and look at what are your goals? Are they in alignment with your husband's goals? If you don't have a husband, and like those are your goals and you want to stay single and that's your desire, then go for that. Like if that's what you believe God has called you to, go for that. But if you are single and you're like, I desire marriage, but at the same time, like I want this income to be able to take care of me in case that's not what the Lord has for me, then like 100% live that way, like live that out. Try to start establishing those habits now and like be bold. If you want to like if even if you just have a boyfriend, and you're like, you know what, like I could see this turning into marriage someday, like don't be afraid to, if a company or an interview isn't fitting, don't be afraid to be like, you know what, I don't think this is gonna be a fit. And it's hard to do because you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna have a job. Like, can I provide for myself? But, making certain that you're with a company that supports family and, is not going to be like, we expect you to stay here for the rest of your life and serve us forever. I'm being a little over dramatic, but you know what I mean. So, definitely like stand up in boldness. And that doesn't mean in every single interview tell them how many kids you want and how you want to stay home and homeschool. Like that doesn't, you don't have to bring that necessarily into the mix when you're interviewing, but you can definitely be like, hey, like I want to work with you guys. I want to build up your company and provide value. But at the same time, like in the future, I don't know, like I might not know where I'm gonna be in 10 years because my desire is to have children and I don't know what that's going to look like for me. But for right now, like this is definitely I want to provide you value as a company and so kind of bringing those two together in a nice balanced fashion is super key. I also would suggest when you're interviewing, after going through a lot of interviews, a lot of networking events, not all of them were interviews per se, but it's like, you're talking with an advisor and they're kind of like feeling it out. How's this going to work? Like, is this a good fit? Maybe I could have an interview with this person. Um, So there's a lot of that in the financial planning field. So you're networking all the time. I'm having conversations, especially in college. I was having conversations with people all the time, all the stinking time. And so I got to kind of gain a lot of just practical interview knowledge slash skills, looking to see what the interviewees want. Um, and obviously, like what they're gonna want is they're gonna want someone who provides value to their team, who works well with the team. A lot of times they'll tell you they have a great atmosphere, a super great culture, we're super family focused. A million people are gonna tell you that. You have to discern, is this true? Like, are they telling me the truth or is this just a fluke? So you have to kind of sit in that spot of, you know what? Here I am at this interview. They're telling me they're family focused. Okay, what are some practical applications that you can give me that show me that your company is family focused? Because I know you mentioned that earlier in the interview. So asking questions, clarifying questions like that is so key. And interviewers love it. Like you are supposed to ask questions. They want to see someone who's interested in joining them as much as they are in gaining another team member. So, in a lot of cases, there are some where there's toxic companies out there who they're not like fantastic. They're like, why are you asking me questions? I don't want to answer them type of deal. But if you're having kind of that conversation in the interview, that's super key. Um, and like for some of you, you may not like desire to have a job or once you get married or whatever the case might be, but you don't necessarily have to like if you're single and like yes, you might desire to have a family in 10 years. It's not necessarily the time to tell the interviewer that. Like you don't have to go into all of the detail, but being um letting your true self show is also important too. So like if they're asking you, what do the next 10 years look like for you? In the financial planning industry, like a lot of times I will say like, hey, I want to go into financial education. I want to help people with their finances. And I tell them, I say, I don't know what this is going to look like throughout the next 10 years, but that is my ultimate goal is to become a financial educator, someone who is teaching others about their finances and, getting to do that in a lot of different settings. And so that's a lot of times something that I'll say. Because guess what? When I have kids, I will automatically become their financial educator. So I'm not like withholding truth from them or any way possible. Like on here, I'm financially educating people through Instagram, through YouTube, through my podcast. I am doing that. However, at the same time, like that doesn't give me a clear sense of I'm going to commit to your company for the next 20 years of my life. Yay. So you kind of have to figure out like how to answer in a way. Like if you're a nurse, my desire is to help people and like that's really what brought me into nursing as an industry. And you might be like, I don't know specifically like where I want to go in the next 10 years, but I know like right now within the next 2 years or 3 years, like I want to work in the NICU within, a year. And they'll be like, okay, great. Like they have a goal, they're trying to reach for that, and they kind of know like what their mission is, their personal mission. So just, showing them, hey, like I have drive, I have a goal, I want to be a benefit to your company, but also at the same time not giving clear, like, I'm not going to be here in 5 years because you never know where the Lord might lead. You never know. Like, you might be there in 5 years. Like, God may not provide with a child. Like, you never know. So, keeping a lot of those things open, and it sounds super non-committal, but you don't have to tell companies everything. Like interviewers, you don't have to tell them everything. Like they don't need to know it. A lot of times they don't want to know everything. And you just want to see that you have a drive, that you know where you're going. And like for men, I envy them sometimes because I'm like, this would be super easy. I could go into this interview super confident and be like, well, in 10 years, I want to be a financial advisor to 20 different clients and be working with, 10 million under my assets under management, sorry. But, like I would have like a clear career goal. Whereas like as women, we're like, you know what? I don't know when the Lord is gonna provide me with a baby. Like I don't know what's gonna happen. So it is a little bit harder for us whenever they ask us those questions in interviews, like, where do you want to be in 10 years? I want to have 5 children and be homeschooling and, I don't think that's the answer you're looking for, but what am I gonna, so sometimes it's hard to kind of gauge that and be able to like have a good answer. So keeping it vague is helpful. Um and just being like here's what I want to be doing and like 100% I want to be doing that in 10 years. I still want to be financially educating people. Now, if that's like through a book, if that's through YouTube, if that's through a podcast, if that is through like my own children, there are many different ways that I could be doing that, So if, it gets harder with different industries for sure. Like a nurse, I want to be helping people, like obviously. So you can do that for your whole life. And a lot of the skills and knowledge that you get in college is so beneficial for you just in general. Like finances, I'm going to be dealing with my own finances my whole life. So it's great for me. Um, but if you're like in an industry that's a little bit more like say engineering, that's kind of hard. Like if they say, "Where do you want to be in 10 years?" It's hard to be like, "I don't know. I want to be an engineer." I don't know. Maybe that's just because that's not my niche and so don't really know that super well. But um I do know like giving a generic like why did you go into what field you're in? Is it because you like math? I don't know. Is it because you enjoy helping people? Like, for a lot of people, they just enjoy helping people. So it's like, I really enjoy helping people and like I want to be in a career in 10 like in a spot in 10 years that's going to enable me to help people. So, you know, that's a big tip for interviews. If that's something, if family and being at home and being a stay-at-home mom is something you desire, but, if they're still kind of pressuring you to be like, okay, give us an answer for where you want to be. So I hope my story inspired all of you, and I hope that it will be able to help you guide yourself towards a career path that's going to work for you and for your family. And I help homemakers and stay-at-home moms and people who aren't stay-at-home moms um, become stay-at-home moms. So I'm helping people who have this desire for a family, who have this desire to stay at home with their children or with like for their husband, but they just don't feel like they can financially do that. I'm here for you. Like, I want to help you become a stay at home mom, become a homemaker. And that's why I offer financial coaching. And so you definitely don't have to be a homemaker or stay at home mom. You can be any random person off the street, and I will give you financial coaching. Like, I want to share as much of my knowledge as I can with the world, with people who want to learn more about their finances. But my ultimate goal is to help homemakers, to help stay-at-home moms become financially literate and understand more knowledge and gain more knowledge in their finances so that that way they can bring that into their home and provide value for their family. So that looks like someone who already is a stay-at-home mom, but they might not know what's going on with their finances. Maybe that's just like their husband that does it, or maybe no one does it and they're just kind of streaming from month to month, hoping it works out. Like, I want to help you gain a better knowledge and understanding and grasp on your finances so that you can help support the family in understanding that, so that you can teach your children that and they can grow up financially literate, and so that you can help out your husband. He's at work all day. Like, it might be beneficial for you to run the budget for him while he's at work, or when you're out shopping, if you have an understanding of your financial situation, you can be like, okay, like, here's how much I have to spend for, today, and this is what I can do with it. So I really, really want to help you understand your finances better. And you can book me for financial coaching. It's 25% off in the months of November and December for the holidays. So go ahead and book it. I'll link that below, and if not, it's in my Instagram profile at Inspired Finance Tips. And then also don't forget to follow along. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. I hope it was an encouragement to you. I hope that you leave a comment, leave a heart if this was an encouragement. Share it with your friends. I would love that. It would mean the absolute world to me if you would share this with friends who you think might be interested, or people that are struggling with their finances and they really want to learn more, but they don't know how. And don't forget, in January through April, tax season is coming up, and I'm hoping to create a podcast about that. But I am also offering to either do someone's taxes for them. So if you want your taxes done for you, I can do that. I am much cheaper than a CPA, but I have the knowledge necessary in the classes that I took. I took a whole class on income tax. So, I have the knowledge to be able to prepare your taxes for you and then send them back to you so you can file them. Or if you're like, you know what, I really want to learn how to do my own taxes and understand what's going on with all of this money and how like the tax system works. And if you want to meet with someone who knows the ins and outs, who's been studying it, gone over several clients' tax forms, if you want to meet with me and just go over your tax form and have me walk you literally step by step through it and show you how to do your own taxes, then I am also offering that. So that is all at the link. And that is at inspired.finance.tips on Instagram. And I'll try to link it below here as well. So I hope you all have a great day. And thank you so much for listening. It means so much.